Welcome to the Aegis booth here at SMT Connect. Delighted to be joined by Michael Ford, who's a contributor to the magazine and also a contributor to many of the panel discussions. So good to see you, Michael.
Thank you.
So for a change, we're here to talk about Aegis. And a rather important part of the Industry 4.0 puzzle, of course, is the supply chain and supply chain logistics. So you have a system here that helps with tracing components and sourcing components through a partner you're using, but it also fits into the factory logic family. Can you maybe give us a run through on how that works?
The Industry 4.0 process involves very rapid changes from customer demand that need to be reflected into the factory, and the factory keeping up the level of performance. One of the biggest causes of lost performance is availability of materials. And so we suddenly find that one of the critical dependencies that Industry 4.0 has is on the poor person working in purchasing department, who is being ordered to find materials for all of these customer requested changes at a moment's notice, but he or she has to source the materials that are available, have the right lead time. Of course, they have to have the right quality. We wouldn't want counterfeits in there, so we need to have a trusted source, and of course, be at the right price. But also, they need to have the right dimensional characteristics, because we don't want to have to change the programming on the machines to cope with new shapes. So all of that has to be done by a person, and that is a critical bottleneck to the whole process. And then you factor in that there are shortages of materials in the market. So what is this poor person supposed to do?
So how do we deal with it?
We've created something called Supply Chain 4.0, and it's directly targeted to support Industry 4.0 or any kind of flexible manufacturing operations. So in order to provide enhancement for the current purchasing operation and the MRP engine process, there is a piece of software we call BOM Connector coming from our partner, which we've integrated with the factory logics. And what it does is to take the bill of materials from a product. It will then go out onto the internet and look at the sources of materials that are available. So many material providers have these kind of business-to-business online shopping portals. It knows where they are. It goes in with the requirements and automatically selects the best materials for the job based on the criteria that has been set out.
Okay. So at the beginning of this process, does you take the BOM list, does the purchasing agent go through the normal sources that they find and then leave the problem areas to the BOM connector, or does the BOM connector do the whole thing?
It pretty much does the whole thing. It can understand all manners of different formats of BOMs, whether they've come directly from design or from an engineering system in manufacturing, which has been translated from let's say, an intelligent format that people are using, like 2581, these kind of things. So one way or another, the format gets into BOM Connector. They're able to understand exactly what is the requirement. There are then the profiles and principles set up in the software. So it just then goes away, finds the material, comes back with a shopping list. Right. So it knows where to get the material, how much it's going to cost, what the lead time is, expected delivery date. That information goes straight into ERP, which is basically MRP, and it then does the job it's designed to do, which is to order the material in the right way for the business. Okay.
So can you obviously cordon off those companies that you don't want to do business with and areas you don't want to do business with? I mean, you know, are you buying products on the grey market? How reliable are they?
Well, this is it. I mean, there are cases where maybe we want to have a particular selection of vendors according to the customer of the product, and they will have confirmed that certain parts from certain manufacturers can be acceptable and some can't. It depends which ones they've looked at, which ones they've tested. And so those kind of rules can be pre-programmed. So you have different profiles for different customers or different products. So therefore you can always be assured that you're always going to get the right materials for the job.
Okay. Now, there's always going to be the occasion when some counterfeit or something is going to sneak through into the supply chain. So how do we screen that out?
Well, counterfeit is a major issue. I mean, we heard the report of even the US military having 15% of their supply chain thought as being counterfeit. So what about the rest of us? You know, we're surely getting something, we just don't realize. So we could spend a lot of money in incoming inspection and absolutely test every material that comes in, but that's not cost effective. In some cases you need to do it, that's fine, but it's not cost effective. So instead we're creating a complete digital supply chain with security. So what happens with that is that we are wanting a standard whereby the manufacturer of materials will store data in terms of a blockchain, which tracks the material logistics from the point of origin through to the point of consumption, and that's a complicated route. I'll not explain it, but it's complicated. But it records everything and ensures that there've been no tampering. So then the materials come into manufacturing, and let's say, for example, you're running your standard AOI process. AOI is programmed to look at the board and understand, are there any exceptions in terms of how a component has been fitted, but also in the component itself. Maybe, for example, it'll detect the change of texture on a surface, or the marking is slightly different from normal, or the leads look a little bit different, and it'll flag that up as an exception. Maybe it's not a failure, but it's an exception.
But, I mean, are AOI systems currently programmed to look for these things? I mean, they're looking for defects essentially, but are they looking for counterfeit?
They can certainly do that. It depends on the programming, of course. People are using them in that way. The critical part, though, is to link up those two parts. So when you have an exception detected, was that exception as a result, for example, of a changed batch of component or changed supplier that's been approved, in which case we don't need to do anything. There's no flags to raise. It's fine. Or did it happen unexpectedly? So that within our manufacturing system, within our supply chain, we can see, no, that should have been the same as before. That's a flag for a counterfeit.
So there's an element of teaching that needs to be done there for the system to know who all the different suppliers are and who are the trusted ones. So is that something that's resident in BOM Connector?
Yes, I mean, there is a lot of value in doing that anyway. People have been using BOM Connector for many, many years in order to be able to quickly source and make a kind of quotation for customers in terms of understanding how much will the materials cost to do a job. But here we're seeing that an excellent tool actually has another value, which when connected to the MES system is able to interact, we understand the stock levels, and it provides this enhancement for Industry 4.0. So it's the right tool in the right place at the right time, and we've put it together.
It's very interesting, it certainly is. So that really is, it's a fascinating area, the whole counterfeit area, and being able to try and tighten up that supply chain and get materials just in time to the manufacturer.
Yeah, each of the kind of initiatives in themselves, like the secure supply chain, traceability fundamentally itself, this replacement for the purchasing job, which is separate from manufacturing, but now they're talking together. We are the bridge between those two worlds. All of these things add value in their own right. People can understand the benefits of doing each one. But you start to realize when you put these things together that you've created an environment where not only are you doing smart manufacturing, but you're also doing trusted manufacturing.
Right.
And all of these things contribute together. So rather than being isolated areas of innovation, they're actually part of a grand scheme of things which is designed to take us to the future of manufacturing. That's the approach that we've taken. We don't want to just provide a point solution for this, that, and the other, even though customers do need to solve individual needs. We understand that, and of course that's fine. But it puts everyone on the path toward factories of the future.
As you say, there's a lot of building blocks in that. Have you got anybody actually using it yet? Or is it in beta testing, or what stage is the product at?
Both sides of the product in terms of factory logics and BOM Connector are very, very mature. We've been doing the interfacing of the two sides together. Now we can see the operation. We have a lot of interested parties on the road now. So yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a very popular product in the industry.
Thank you for sharing that with us today, Michael, and we look forward to seeing some of the results from it in future interviews.
Indeed.
Okay, thank you.
Very much.